Please stand for the pledge.
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Cecily, roll call, please. Counselor Augsburger. Present. Counselor Bronson.
Present.
Counselor Hagee.
Present.
Counselor Richards.
Here.
Counselor Sanchez. Here. President Pro Tem Thorstad. Mayor Coleman. Present. Let the record show that there are 7 present and 0 absent. Moving on to the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Inside the consent agenda, we have requests for council action regarding Tune It Up Tuesdays. We also have a transportation program operation agreement. It's a pass-through grant, and then 2 sets of minutes. You can pull something out to have it discussed, or you can make a motion to approve it all.
So I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Cecily, please call for a vote. Counselor Hagee.
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yeah.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad.
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger.
Yes.
Counselor Bronson.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 7 yeses and no nays. Moving on, recognition of visitors and hearing of petitions. Do we have any visitors or petitions? Hearing on none. Coming next is old business, information only, vacant building and city-owned property report.
And Madam Mayor, Council, what you have before you is a memorandum. And the purpose of the memorandum is to answer some questions that Council had regarding our work session for one of our council goals for the downtown vacancy reduction. I want to thank Deputy City Manager Cecily Pretty for working on this. And I'm just going to kind of go through it because I can't summarize it any better than what it says in here. So this just provides an overview of our downtown vacant properties, city-owned properties, and a summary of the Commercial Exterior Improvement Program, the CEIP. So the city's code enforcement officer conducted an inventory of vacant buildings in the downtown corridor during the week of June 2nd of this year. And what we learned based on his inventory is that there's currently 30 vacant buildings out of 125, representing a vacancy rate of 24%. Some of these buildings are in private use, but do not represent a business that is open to the public. As far as city-owned properties, the city currently owns 3 buildings that are not used for city operations. We have the old City Hall over on 12th Avenue, which you're familiar with, the former feed store at 1244 Long Street, and then the Flex building at 4296 Osage. The Flex building has a current tenant operating a small business. The old City Hall and the former feed store are currently vacant. The Flex building site and the building itself were paid for through a federal grant in the mid-1990s, while the original program that funded it is now defunct, so oversight and enforcement are unclear. The original terms state that should the city no longer wish to operate the building for economic development purposes, it would either become a property of the federal government or the city would need to buy the government out for the value of the building. The city currently makes approximately $10,000 in profit annually after taxes on this building. As far as information on CEIP, the Economic and Community Development Fund was created in 2017-2018 fiscal year. It was originally called the Housing Rehabilitation Fund. The city took over some home loans from the federal government, and as those were paid back, those revenues went into this fund. Per that year's budget book, quote unquote, funds currently held in this fund and from future repaid loans will be used to help with economic development projects and enhance business incentives within the Sweet Home community, end quote. At that time, it had a starting balance of $215,575, and the Budget Committee recommended to transfer $200,000 from the general fund for a beginning balance total of $415,575. There's a common misconception that there is a dedicated CEIP fund, but this is not accurate. While CEIP is an allowable use within the Community and Economic Development Fund, it is only one of many potential eligible uses. Anything that contributes to potential economic Development is allowable or isn't an allowable use, and such uses outside of SEEP include, as you recall, paint the town, advertising, payment for economic development consultants, local event support, Rural Development Institute, also known as RDI, and others. Of those original loans that were used to seed the fund, there is still a few outstanding. If those are paid off, they will go into the Economic and Community Development Fund to become available for SEEP or other allowable uses. The only other current revenue stream to this fund consists of the rent payments made to the city for use of its flex building, which was recently redirected for this purpose. These revenues currently will total a little over $10,000 annually after taxes. So from 2018 to 2024, the City of Sweet Home dispersed 55 grants to 36 unique requesters totaling $346,641.54. So there is the info that council requested, and that's all that staff has to report. We'll hand it over to council for any discussion or questions that you might have.
I would like to say thank you to staff for reviewing all of that information and providing that information regarding vacant buildings and city-owned property, which is out of the work session that we had 2 weeks ago. I also want to remind council that one of the things that we agreed to on April 22nd was 10 goals that were adopted unanimously by all counselors on that date. The goals came out of work sessions that maybe not everybody liked the goals that rose to the top, but the top 10 rose, and the council voted unanimously. Addressing vacant buildings in our community is one of those goals. And as leaders in our community, our job is to look out for the entire community, all 10,000 people. And through not only community comments, multiple paid consultants who've reviewed our downtown area. Starting in 1994, we've had at least 4 consultants come in and say, how can we make our economic development better? And we've paid for those. And they all say vacant buildings need to be addressed. So it's something that was put on the goal list, something that all counselors voted on. And it doesn't have to be punitive if we do something, but it is something that we need to actually be willing to take a hard look at and see if there's something we can do to address that. We've obviously handed out 36, helped 36 downtown businesses with their storefronts. So we've provided lots of incentives, and I think the businesses that participated, they look really good. But we do, as leaders, need to consider the fact that we're supposed to lead the city, and sometimes we have to make hard decisions. It's not always easy, and it's not always popular, but it is something we need to look at. Having 24% of our buildings downtown vacant is not beneficial to the vitality of Sweet Home in any way. That's just the reality. Any other comments or questions from counselors?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm just curious for the downtown corridor. Can you give specific streets? Is that Long Street, Main Street?
I believe that was Long Street and Main Street combined between 10th Avenue or 228 and all the way down to 18th Avenue.
Any other questions or comments from counselors?
Madam Mayor, I do. So vacant buildings in the downtown corridor, private use, is that commercial buildings? Is that residential buildings?
So we removed all the residential, so those numbers reflect just commercial.
Okay. And then can you remind me of the number that you had quoted us from the last year's?
23.
Okay, so it's went up. And then lastly, for the SEEP fund, I know that there's some questions, and maybe this is better for Matt, but it looks like that there was $415,000 and there is 346 allocated, so that's about $65,000
Can somebody help me with that?
Again, so if you review the memo, so what didn't fall into that 400, the remainder is, for example, paint the town, economic development related advertising. If we had economic development consultants, all those kinds of things were also allowable uses in that fund.
So that's not the grants or the unique request. That's something separate.
So 346 of that 415, that was all towards SEEP. The remainder was for, RDI, paint the town, et
Okay.
cetera.
Thank you.
Any other counselors with questions? Moving on to the next item on the agenda is request for council action resolution number 15 for 2025.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilors, so this resolution that you have before you is really just a formal recognition and really just procedural of the charter amendment approved by the Sweet Home voters on May 20th of 2025. As you recall, Council referred the measure to the ballot earlier this year through resolution number 6 for 2025. And the purpose was to allow the direct election of the mayor by the voters rather than selection by the council from among its members. So it passed, and now staff recommends the adoption of this for 2025.
Any questions or comments from counselors? Entertain a motion?
So moved as recommended.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Richards?
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad?
Yes.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger?
Yes.
Counselor Bronson?
Yes.
Counselor Hagee?
Yes.
Let the record show that there are 7 ayes and no nays. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a public hearing and request for council action regarding resolution number 12 for 2025. So I'm going to open up a public hearing. The public hearing regarding the spending of state shared revenue sharing is now open at 6:42 p.m. For fiscal year 2025-2026, all state shared revenues are received in the general fund and spent on general government services. Comments from those in support of the matter shall be first. Comments from those in opposition to the matter shall be next. Comments from those who are neutral shall be last. Is there anyone here to provide comment? Hearing none, I will then close this public hearing regarding the spending of state shared revenue sharing for fiscal year 2025-2026 at 6:42 p.m. Now, moving on to the RCA portion.
All right, I will hand this over to Finance Director Brown.
Thank you. So you have 2 resolutions that are essentially approving the spending and receiving of state shared revenue. The first one is Resolution 12 for the public hearing, which basically is just you as a city or city council accepting that you want to receive state shared revenue. The second resolution that is listed, number 13 for 2025, is ensuring and declaring that you have at least 4 of the provided services that are listed from the state of Oregon in statute that you have to provide to receive those services, alongside that you are within a county that is at least 100,000 people. So happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions or comments from counselors? I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 12.
So moved as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 12 for 2025. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Sanchez?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad?
Yes.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger?
Yes.
Counselor Bronson?
Yes.
Counselor Hagee?
Yes.
Counselor Richards?
Yep.
Let the record show that we have 7 ayes and no nays to approve resolution number 12 for 2025. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, request for council action, resolution number 13 for 2025, certifying the city provides 4 or more services in order to receive state revenues. Director Brown's already described this. Do we have any questions or comments regarding this? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 13 for 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none, Cecily, please call for a vote.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Hagee,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 7 ayes and no nays to approve resolution number 13 for 2025. Moving on to the next item is request for council action resolution number 14 for 2025, adopting the fiscal year 2025-26 budget.
Hand this over to Finance Director Brown as well.
So in the resolution, you have the all of the spending appropriations for each fund and each department within the city of Sweet Home. Sorry, almost said my previous city. So I'm happy to answer any questions or mayor or city manager. It's been a long day. Happy to answer any questions you may have, as well as the city manager and assistant city manager.
Any questions from counselors? Okay. So regarding resolution number 14 for 2025, I think Counselor Hagee has some comments here.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from voting on the personal services for the Parks Department and the Finance Department.
Okay. Since Counselor Hagee is going to recuse himself from those departments, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget for the personal services for the Parks Department and Finance Department.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the personal services for the Parks Department and Finance Department. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yep.
President Pro Tem Thorstad.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 6 yeses and 1 recusal on those portions. Counselors, I will now entertain a motion to approve the remainder of the budget, and Counselor Hagee is welcome to participate in that one.
So moved as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Hagee,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad.
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes, let the record show that we have 7 ayes and no nays to approve the remainder of the budget. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, request for council action, first reading of ordinances is ordinance number 6 for 2025, amending the SHMC chapter 3.24 transient lodging tax.
Yeah, Madam Mayor and Councilor. So what you have before you here is a request for a first reading of this ordinance, which proposes amendments to the Sweet Home Municipal Code, Chapter 3.24. So this is related to the transient lodging tax. A little history, Sweet Home has had a 6% transient lodging tax in place since 1990, much of which supports local tourism efforts, including funding for the chamber. However, we've had a long-standing challenge actually collecting this tax, especially from short-term rental operators using platforms such as Airbnb, for example. The proposed amendments would change the ordinance to allow the city to enter into an IGA, or an intergovernmental agreement, with the Oregon Department of Revenue. This is not the IGA, but would just allow us to do that in the future if we wanted to move this route. It doesn't enter into the agreement at this time, but rather would allow us to do so if we choose to. Under this agreement, the Department of Oregon Revenue would collect the tax directly on behalf of the city, streamlining the process for operators and improving compliance, especially among short-term rentals. In our research, the approach is already used by more than 24 Oregon cities and counties, and it is expected to increase compliance and revenues even after DOR retains administrative costs. So with that, staff recommends that council proceed with a first reading of the ordinance as presented, and we're happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Any questions from counselors?
Madam Mayor, I do. So I think that this was one of the things that I wanted more clarification on in regards to the amount that it costs the city to join. If we choose to down the road, the amount of revenue it can generate, how much revenue we're missing, all of those questions.
Yes, so looking at it a little bit closer, so if we did end up entering into an IGA with the state, the fee structure is a bit complex, and I'll just kind of go over my notes here, what I have. So there would be like an admin fee to do it. So that covers the cost of the financial systems for the DOR that they use to distribute funds. It's based, again, this is complex and probably getting more into the weeds than you want, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's based on 60 hours of admin work at $99 an hour, equal to $5,940 total statewide. So each city pays a portion based on how many short-term rental operators or quote unquote taxpayers they have. So for example, if we have 25 out of 1,000 statewide, our share would be 2.5% or about $149 a year. There's also a business fee that covers DOR's day-to-day lodging tax work, so like processing, tracking, outreach, and that's capped at 0.035% of their total TLT admin budget per operator. So if their total budget, for example, is $500,000, each operator costs up to $175 a year. So for example, if 25 operators, that's about $4,375 a year. And then third, there's extra service fees that only applies if we request special services like custom audits or legal help, and we'd be billed separately for those. So, and this is just like a guesstimate ballpark figure, but our estimated cost given that scenario would be about $4,500 a year. DOR withholds 4% of what they collect up front, then reconciles each year. So if they're over collected, we get a refund. If they're under collected, they either deduct from future payments or invoice us. So bottom line, we're paying some modest fees, but gaining stronger enforcement and probably better compliance. So last year, so specifically last year, we brought in $38,626 with this specific tax. And just talking with Cindy in finance, she believes that there's quite a bit more out there that we are missing here in town with like the Airbnbs and whatnot. So it was kind of a long answer and complicated, but at least you have an idea of how they calculate those fees.
I don't think it was a long and complicated answer. I appreciate it because I just want to make sure it's cost positive
Yeah.
or like not going in the hole on it. But you guys have satisfied my curiosity, so thank you.
Any other questions from other counselors?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I know that there's some coastal cities that, like with some of the short-term rentals, the host and the guests both pay that fee up front when they book or when they get paid out, and it's already collected by that company to be paid straight to the city. So if we're not doing that, there's no way to track it. I mean, we could be losing out quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we definitely could be losing out quite a bit. There could be more out there that we're obviously not aware of.
Any other questions or comments from counselors? Any motion?
So moved as recommended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Hagee,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yeah.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 7 yeses and no nays. Moving on, there are no second readings. Third reading. Oh, we need to read that, don't we? Yes. Go for it. It's spinning.
Oh, God. 36,000 words.
Since we had a unanimous passage of that for the first reading, I am open to having it read by title only for the second time tonight. If somebody wants to make that motion,
So moved.
I have a motion
Second?
and a second. Cecily, please call for the vote.
Counselor Hagee,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 7 yeses and no nays to read ordinance number 6 for 2025 for the second time by title only.
It's ordinance bill number 6 for 2025, ordinance number blank, Sweet Home Ordinance amending Sweet Home Municipal Code, Chapter 3.24, transient lodging tax.
Thank you. And I will also entertain a motion to have this read for the third time on the June 24th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to have ordinance number 6 read for 2025 for the third time on June 24th. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Richards.
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Hagee.
Yes.
Let the record show that we have 7 ayes and no nays. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is the third reading of ordinance bills, ordinance number 5 for 2025 by title only.
Ordinance bill number 5 for 2025, ordinance number 1334, an ordinance granting an electric utility franchise and general utility easement to Pacific Core.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second to adopt ordinance number 5 for 2025. Cecily, please call for a vote.
Counselor Sanchez.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Augsburger,
Yes.
Counselor Bronson,
Yes.
Counselor Hagee,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Let the record show that we have 7 ayes and no nays to adopt ordinance number 5 for 2025. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is reports of committees. Thank you so much for including the minutes for the Budget Committee and Charter Review Committee, all those committees in there. Did any counselors want to make any comments or if you have questions regarding those committee minutes? Oh, also there's a calendar in there too. Thank you for including that. Hearing no comments or questions from counselors, we'll move on to department reports. There's a few department reports in the packet. I also want to thank department heads for those. I appreciate the finance report and the details that are in there. It's, yeah, I think I'm most encouraged by the decrease in turnoffs. That's reflected in that report. So thank you. Any comments or questions from counselors or directors want to highlight anything in their reports?
I have none, but I will entertain any questions you may have.
Hearing no questions, we will move on to reports of city officials. City managers report.
Yeah, I have a few things to report. First Avenue speed humps, that obviously has been approved and will begin installation on July 2nd, weather permitting. So we're pretty excited about that. And First Avenue residents are as well. So we're really looking forward to that. The Jim Beam Safety Fair, just as a reminder, it's going to be June 21st, Saturday, coming up pretty quick. The hours are from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Sankey Park. It'll be a bike rodeo for the youth, safety education booths, free bike registration, raffles, all of the good stuff that we have every year. So mark your calendars, and we would love to see you there. And also for the residents of Sweet Home, we would love for you to turn out and have some fun with us. Also wanted council to know that we are successfully closing out a grant that supported our firewall and cybersecurity upgrades at the Public Works Department. So that was pretty cool. Just represents another step forward in enhancing our digital security and infrastructure over there. By way of reminder, just wanted to remind the public that burn season officially ended on June 9th. I just was thinking about it because it's been so hot the last few days. And so we appreciate the community's cooperation with remembering that and maintaining safe practices there. Another thing I wanted to highlight for council, and I know that some of you have already mentioned something to me about this, but we have the Sweet Home Shine or Community Dumpster Days. Our code enforcement officer, Ray Grundy, did an excellent job researching and putting together this program that is a free community cleanup opportunity, and that begins June 16th. So basically, it's designed to assist residents in cleaning up their properties and in many cases proactively resolving some potential code violations. And so Code Enforcement Grundy has reached out to some residents that were already kind of put on notice for some of their properties so that they are aware of this opportunity, which is great. So we have, I just want to give you the dates. So the schedule and locations are for June 16th. All of this is from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So June 16th, we have one at Northside Park. June 17th, Strawberry Park. June 18th and 19th, Sankey Park. June 23rd is Ashbrook Park. And June 24th is 42nd and Osage. And then the last couple of dates, the 25th and 26th, will be here at City Hall. So we're pretty excited about that. In there, just kind of a reminder, items that can't be accepted are going to be like paints and chemicals, electronics, stuff like that that we can't throw in the dumpster, tires, construction debris, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. So we're excited about that. I think it's a great program. We're using some of our abatement funds to really help out the community, and I'm thankful that we're partnering with Sweet Home Sanitation with this as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions from council if you have any.
Any questions from counselors?
Madam Mayor, I just want to say I think this is a great idea, Jason. I'm happy to see this going on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I also want to agree with that. Thanks for bringing this back, and thank you to Ray as well for making it happen. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from counselors? Mayor's report's really quick in that I just want to say well done to Counselor Bronson. If you've never been out to the Best in the West, is it called Triathlon? Best in the West Festival. It's a huge deal. It really is. It's a big production, and I know that he is instrumental in making that happen. So I wanted to say good job. And thanks for bringing all of those people to our community. And I also just want to say there's Tune Up Tuesday tonight if anybody's interested in heading over there. And we do have those activities that City Manager Ogden has mentioned coming up in the near future. Sweet Home is busy in the summertime, so get out and enjoy the weather. That's the end of my report. Any council business for the good of the order?
Oh, Madam Mayor, I have one question. What time does the Tune It Up Tuesday end?
I think it's like at 9.
Okay,
Eight
good.
or
We
9.
got time then.
Yeah, we have time. Yep. Okay, hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:16 p.m.
Have a good night, Ken. Good night, Chelsea. Have a good night, girl.